I'm Von Biggs, and let's queer up health. Relationship dynamics and HIV prevention in China and the United States. A new global research project is shedding light on HIV testing and PrEP engagement among sexual minority men, highlighting how relationship dynamics influence prevention behaviors. A recent study from China states that sexual minority men, which they refer to as SMM, in China continue to face a disproportionately high burden of HIV. Researchers surveyed 1,379 sexually active, sexually minority men using a geosocial networking app. The study explains that the purpose was to find the association between relationship status and sexual agreements and HIV testing behaviors, PrEP willingness, and PrEP uptake. The findings showed that 36%, that is more than 1/3 of the Chinese sexual minority men, were in a relationship, and among these men, 44% had a monogamous sexual agreement, and 24.6% were having an open relationship agreement. The study also found that partnered Chinese SMM were more likely to have received a recent HIV test. This means they were more likely to have been tested than single men. The research also shows that bisexual men were less likely to have tested for HIV and less likely to have ever used PrEP as compared to gay men. How do these findings compare to what we see here in the United States? A 2024 viewpoint in the Lancet HIV states that Black men account for just 11% of PrEP prescriptions in the United States, even though national targets require roughly 50% PrEP coverage. This is similar to what is seen in China, where bisexual men and men in open relationships showed lower prevention engagement. A majority systemic review in the United States that included 42,870 Black MSM found PrEP awareness at 50.8% and PrEP uptake at only 15.5%. A study of the Latinx sexual minority men in the United States revealed that cultural silence, religious expectations, misinformation, and stigma limit HIV testing and PrEP engagement. At the same time, the Chinese study also suggests the need for tailored interventions, whether in China or here in our own communities. We need more awareness around HIV testing and PrEP behavior. You know, I think it was very interesting to read about the sexual dynamics, whether you were in an open relationship, where you were monogamous, where you partner.
Monogamous partner agreement. That's
right.
what I was.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like it told the story of if they were in a certain agreement that they weren't really getting tested that much if they were in that monogamous relationship. But what it showed was, even in the U.S. study comparisons, is that our bisexual men are not on PrEP. They're not getting tested as much as they should, which when you look at our uptake of HIV in the country, that explains some of that.
Wow, isn't that crazy though? But I mean, whether it's China or the U.S., the problem isn't being queer or being gay. It's the stigma of it all. You know, Black men are only 11% of PrEP.
Right.
You know, when we need 50% coverage. I mean, think about that. You know, that's not a gap. That's a freaking canyon, and it's scary, especially during this time here in the U.S. with all the cuts.
And here it's associated to obviously your socioeconomic status. I mean, minority communities traditionally obviously have been marginalized when it comes to accessing prevention and treatment in HIV.
And trust of healthcare.
Right, and exactly. So where people are not, willing to disclose and unable to, seek treatment many times or prevention. So, but I question sometimes, in China, how reliable this data may be, because the government control the media and control access to these networks and these. I went to China and right before the pandemic, and you could have actually access to Grindr. You could access Grindr.
Maybe that was what they were using. Maybe that was the app that they were using instead of Geo app.
Right.
So.
That's what I question, because if it's the state, because they do have their own apps, okay? Right. And they control, and I met people, local people that told me that the government knows what you purchase. They know what you're into, and it's very well controlled. So it will have to be something independent. Like, I don't know how independent Grindr is, but I wouldn't trust the run act app by the Chinese government.
We're not far from that here. I mean, look at the Ring cameras and all the news stories that have come out recently about how all that information is going back to the government as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if this government tries to go after a Grindr, for example, right now here in the United States.
Don't touch our Grindr. How dare you?
I'm still bitter that the Obama administration took away Rent Boys.
He has his own little protest at home with just one little sign.
You are the only one.
Folks, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.